Forrest is sitting at a bus stop with a box of chocolates in his hands. He begins to tell his story, talking to strangers who shift next to him on the bench. Forrest recalls growing up in Greenbow with his mother. His mother, whom he deeply respected and loved, often told him that life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Forrest's mother was a strong woman and did everything she could to ensure that her son, despite his mental limitations, was able to live a full life. She explained to him that he was not stupid but special and always encouraged him to be confident in himself, emphasizing that he was no worse than other people. Forrest had spinal problems and had to wear leg braces, making him the object of ridicule from his peers. At school, he was bullied and often teased. But one day, when a group of boys on bicycles started chasing him, Jenny, his best friend, yelled, "Run, Forrest, run." And he ran. At first, he could barely move his legs, but soon, like magic, the leg braces came off and he ran so fast that he left everyone far behind. This moment was the symbolic beginning of his running career and opened up new opportunities for him. Forrest talks about his friendship with Jenny Karen. She was his first and only love, and despite their difficult lives, they always supported each other. Jenny grew up in a dysfunctional family with a father who abused alcohol and mistreated her. At one point, Jenny ran away from home, dreaming of freedom and a singing career. Forrest was always there for her despite her alienation and desire to find her place in the world. To him, Jenny was the most important person in his life, and he always sought to protect her even if it was beyond his control. Forrest gets into college because of his running ability. He is recruited for the varsity American soccer team and becomes a star player. His running technique and natural endurance allow him to become a true hero on the soccer field. His success in sports leads to him being invited to meet the president. At the White House, in his sincere manner, Forrest shares with the president a funny story about how his shoes got wet after going to the restroom. This incident makes him popular in the community, but for Forrest, it is just another event in his life that he takes without too much importance. After graduating from college, Forrest decides to join the Army. His life's journey leads him to the U.S. Army, where he meets Benjamin, whom everyone calls Bubba. Bubba dreams of starting his own shrimp fishing business, and he shares his plans with Forrest. He details what varieties of shrimp exist and how they can catch and sell them together to get rich. This dream becomes something sacred to Forrest, and he promises Bubba that when they return from the war, they will make it come true. While serving in Vietnam, Forrest and Bubba find themselves in the same platoon. Their lives change forever when, during one of the battles, their squad is ambushed. Everything happens suddenly, and Forrest hears gunshots and screams and rushes to save his comrades. He runs back into the woods without a second thought, pulling out one soldier after another despite the danger. At this point, his natural endurance and fearlessness are on full display. In the chaos of battle, Forrest finds Lieutenant Dan Taylor, their platoon leader. Dan was a man of iron will and strong convictions. He believed that it was his destiny to die a hero on the battlefield, as his ancestors did. However, Forrest saves him even though Dan lost both his legs in battle. After the war, Forrest returns home. His wounds heal, but the pain of loss remains. Bubba died in Vietnam. Forrest doesn't forget his promise and decides to fulfill his friend's dream. He buys a fishing boat and starts shrimping. At first things go badly, he faces difficulties, but continues to work hard. One day there is a catastrophic storm that destroys all the fishing boats in the area except his boat. This event becomes a turning point for Forrest. His shrimp fishing business begins to flourish. Soon Forrest owns an entire fleet of fishing boats and names his company after Bubba, fulfilling a promise he made to a friend. During this period of his life, Lieutenant Dan reappears in Forrest's life. After the war, Dan experienced a deep depression due to the loss of his legs and the fact that his destiny had been disrupted. He considered himself unhappy and resentful of fate, but Forrest never gave up on his friend. In time, Lieutenant Dan finds a new meaning in life, and reconciliation comes to their relationship. Dan becomes Forrest's business partner, and their business begins to bring in huge profits. Meanwhile, Jenny re-enters Forrest's life. She goes through difficult periods in her life, experiencing tumultuous relationships, suffering from addiction, and facing the cruelty of the world. Despite this, Forrest continues to love her, but Jenny leaves again. She cannot find inner peace despite Forrest's love. There are dark moments in her life, but she always remembers that Forrest is her friend and protector. Forrest, feeling empty after Jenny leaves, starts running. He starts with just running around the neighborhoods of his town, but then running becomes something more to him. He runs across the state, then across several states, and at one point he finds himself running across the country. People begin to follow him, seeing a deep symbolism in his actions. For Forrest, running is just running. He runs because it helps him think and feel alive. He runs thousands of kilometers until one day in the middle of the road he stops and decides to go home. This journey has become a way for him to cope with his inner feelings, although he doesn't fully realize it himself. Eventually, Jenny comes back into Forrest's life and informs him that they have a son, whom she has named Forrest. This becomes a big moment for Forrest. He has always dreamed of having a family, and now he has a son to take care of. He accepts his child with an open heart and becomes a caring father. Jenny and Forrest spend some time together, and their relationship finally finds harmony. However, Jenny soon falls ill, and the illness proves to be incurable. Forrest continues to care for her until the very end, surrounding her with love and care. Jenny dies and Forrest is left alone with their son. He devotes his life to raising his son, trying to give him the best of everything. Forrest now has a purpose and finds comfort in that. The scene ends with Forrest walking his son to the school bus, just as his mother once walked him.